the Guttmann chart. This is the way that we can see how to group our students and therefore give them more targeted interventions in between our formative and summative assessment. So we're going to go through this step by step in terms of all the different parts. Firstly, along the top, you can see that we have the skills that come from the rubric, and beneath those, each skill has got its little reference number so that we can start to remember where each of the skills fall on the rubric. On the left here, we've got the student names, and when you initially open the Guttmann chart, it will perhaps be in alphabetical order. But basically, this column here, as you can see, tells you how many skills the student has demonstrated. So for this particular task, which was language analysis, there's 32 skills in total. So the top student, who I've de-identified, got 27 out of the possible 32 skills. So they're on top. And then you can see 24, 23, etc., all the way down to some students who only got 3 skills. Peter Pumpkin-Eater, the poor fellow. And the ex-bass player from Jamiroquai did not actually do the task at all. So then, if you didn't realize, the ones tell you that the student has demonstrated the skill, and the zeros tell you that the student has demonstrated, hasn't demonstrated the skill. And that's how you read a Guttmann chart. That's all well and good, and you can tell quite a lot from this just looking at it in terms of the patterns and whatnot. However, we want to delve a little bit deeper, and that's what this video is going to help you do. Now, Guttmanns need to be ordered by putting the top student at the top and the student who has demonstrated the least skills at the bottom, but they also need to be ordered from the skill that was completed by most students through to the skills that were completed by least students. Now, if you've got an older style rubric that doesn't have that auto sorting, it will always automatically sort from top to bottom for students, but we need to do this sideways sorting. So let's have a look at how we do that. The first thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to zoom in and have a look in column H under the first set of skills, and we're going to have to type a formula in. Now, you can do this wherever you like. You could do it in row 27 if you like. That's totally fine. Don't go too close to the rubric, and it depends on how many students you have. Sorry, don't go too close to the Guttmann. Depends on how many students you have, but row 27 is probably a good place to start. And what we're essentially going to do is we're going to create a percentage of how many students across the entire class completed this skill. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to add up all the ones, which will give us the number of students who have completed the skill, and then we'll divide that by the number of students who completed the assessment. Now, for this first skill, it just so happens that out of the whole class who completed the assessment, every single one of them completed the skill. So if we get our formula right, this should result in an answer being 100%, because old Stuart down here didn't do it. So this should all add up to 19. We'll divide it by 19 because that's how many students there are, and that should equal 100%. If you're not quite sure how many students there are in your class, you can just manually count them, or you can select and drag down, and down in the bottom right hand corner you'll see Excel can count. It'll count anything with basically text in it, so you can highlight over any number of cells and it'll tell you how many cells that have text in them. It'll also add them up and do an average if they're numbers. So we know that we've got 19 students in the class. So let's have a look at the formula that we're going to enter into cell H27 here. Now, the formula we're going to enter in is this one here. Equals sum H4 to H27 divided by 19. So let's just have a quick look at what those parts of the formula are. Equals tells Excel that you're just entering a formula. So if you put equals in, you can start typing in some formulas and it won't come up on the screen. It'll just represent whatever the answer to the formula is. Sum is just the word you use to add numbers together in Excel. And then in the brackets then are the numbers that you want to add together. In this case, it's the range of skills associated with the students. So that's made up of column references, so H column, and then row references, row 4 to row 27. Now, depending on later on, we'll start putting students into groups. This is for the whole class, so row 4 to 27. But if you've got a group with only 5 students in it, this will go like maybe 4 to 9 or something like that. This here then is the number of students who have completed the assessment, and you're dividing by that number to get yourself a percentage score. So let's go ahead and type that into Excel, equals sum, and when you start typing in, after you put the equal sign in, if you start typing in anything that looks like a formula, it comes up as a list, but you can just type the whole thing in. Capitals or lowercase, it doesn't matter. You open brackets. Now you can either type in H4 colon H27 if you want, and as you see, sorry, H22, you can see as I'm doing that, it's actually automatically highlighting the cells that I'm going to be adding together. The other way that you can do that is, and the easier way, is just to click, drag while holding down the mouse and let go, and you can select the range that way as well. Close the brackets, divide by 19 because that's the number of students, and press enter, and the answer is 1. That's because it's a percentage, so we need to go up to the home tab here and then select turning the cell into a percent cell, and that will be 100%. Let's zoom right in here and have a look at the next thing we're going to do, because the beauty of Excel is that we don't have to keep typing in the formulas. You'll see that the cell is got a box around it, and in the bottom right hand corner of the box is a black sort of dot slash square. We need to put our mouse over that square, and when we do that, the mouse turns from a big cross into a sort of thin cross. We click and hold down and drag. We drag that right across to the end, let go, and it will automatically fill in the formulas for us. So if we look up here in the formula bar, you'll notice that it's what's called relative referencing. It just changes the column that it's in. So J turns to K, turns to L, etc. The last step we want to do here, because numbers are all well and good, but we like some visuals as well, is we're going to highlight all of those numbers that we've just put in. We're going to go to Home tab again, Conditional Formatting, and we're going to go to Color Scales, and then we're going to go to any of these. It really doesn't matter, but I always like going green to red, and then you get yourself a nice visual representation of the entire class and what skills they can and can't do. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go up here and we're going to grab this row, which is the skill references. We're going to go Control C, or you can right click and copy, whatever you feel comfortable with. Then you click down here in the first cell above where we've got our percentages, and Control V, or you can right click and paste. It's up to you. And now we can start to see, okay, 100% got 1.1.1, etc. If you don't know what the skills are off by heart, it's just pretty easy to click back over here and find them on the rubric itself. The only problem with that is when you go back to the Guttmann, it'll sort of jump around a bit just because of the way that it's programmed. So we're going to type in over here, whole class. Sorry, we're going to put that down there. Okay, so that's all well and good. We can see the whole class, and we can start to see where the class as a whole class starts to taper off. So 2.2.2, which I think is topic sentences. Sorry, no, it's supporting sentences. That was a problem for the class. So that's neither here nor there, because it's the whole class. What we really want to do is we want to see how we can delve down deeper into supporting the students in smaller groups or even as individuals. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start to group our students, and we do this just visually. There might be a more scientific way of doing this, but visually is a good way to have a go. And let's just have a look at, I'm going to try and draw a line here. Have a look at this diagonal that's happening across here. So we've got a bit of a diagonal that's going on with regards to the skills, and there's sort of a bit of a hole in here as well. It was a bit of a funny task, and practice sacks are often like that because students don't always put their best effort into practice sacks. But what we can do is we can get our shapes, and we can start to sort of group our students probably like this. That looks alright. And what I can do now is I just right click on that shape and I go format shape, and I can just go to fill and I can make it transparent so I can actually see through. 50% or so should be right. So I can actually see through what's going on. So that looks alright. Now I might just click on that, copy paste, so I don't have to get another cell, another drawing. So maybe these guys? Maybe? And then, again, I'm just sort of working off patterns here. Maybe these guys? I don't know. It's sort of up to you how you do this part. Might even take that all the way down. And then I'd say these two need the special work by themselves. Okay, so once you've sort of identified some groupings, you don't want them to be too big. The other way you can do it is by looking at these numbers over here and having a go. But basically what we're going to do now is we're going to group these kids up visually. And I'm just highlighting the names of the students. And I'm going to go to this little paint bucket. And I'm going to make these guys green. And I'm going to make maybe these guys yellow. I mean, these colors are totally arbitrary. It's up to you. And I'm going to make these guys like red. I think I added an extra one there, but that's okay. And then the other guys we'll deal with in a minute. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to type down here green. We're going to type yellow. And we're going to type red. And we're going to do essentially the same formula, except we're going to be concentrating just on these smaller groups of students. So let's drill in a bit and have a look at this green group and see how we're going to do that. Firstly, we need to just highlight only the skills that are associated with this group, as opposed to the skills that are completed by everyone. And we need to know how many students there are in this group. So there's 5 students in the group, and they range from row 4 to 8. Now, I actually don't need to know all of that detail, but just for this, if I was going to do the formula manually, it would be equals sum, and then I'd open my brackets. We're in column H, and we're going from column H4 to H8, sorry, row 4 to H8, because that's the boundaries of our group, and we've got 5 students in the group. So that is our formula. So back here in Excel, we'll see if I put that formula into the cell, and it's made 100% because, of course, everyone in the class got this skill. So let's do the next group. We're going to click, drag, close the brackets. There are 5 in that group as well. Let's do the last group. Equals sum, open brackets, click, drag, close brackets, divide. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people in that group, all 100%. Now, if we do that first column, we can simply drag all of them across at once, and they'll all go out. And you can see there, of course, this group has got more green, and they start to peter off around about here. The second group start to peter off a bit earlier, and the third group start to peter off a lot earlier. And from there, what you're essentially doing, let's zoom right in, is you're looking for where the students, maybe 40 to 30% of them start to lose the skill. So here's one here, 1.3.1. And again, if we don't know what that is, we can either just quickly scroll to the top. That's restating the author's contention. So that was about actually doing the conclusion. So that's probably not necessarily a skill that we're that interested in just at the moment. Okay, putting the text in context and summarizing the points covered. Oh, so that's another conclusion one. Let's have a look at some of these. 3.2.2. It's nominalization. So basically, as you go through, you can start to build up a picture as to what skills the students should do, and you can start to then put them into their groups and give them specific skills to focus on.